What's up, guys? John here, back with another one for you. So this one comes from a question I got from Robert. He said, I was wondering if you have written or maybe mentioned in a podcast what your typical contract looks like that you write before starting a new project. What are must-haves, and is there any kind of template that you use? So yes, I do think there are some sort of must-haves, and yes, I do use a template. So I'm going to just actually take you, show you the exact template I use, show you an example of the actual contract that I use for pretty much all my freelance projects except the very, very first few. But before I do that, there's two things actually outside of the contract that maybe matter more than the contract. I mean, the contract is sort of a CYA, cover your butt type thing for legal purposes, and it does help to sort of clarify things when you send it to a client, and if they actually read through it, it does sort of help to clarify things. But more important than that are, one, the clients that you decide to work with, right? This one was never really a big thing for me. I had the contract, I covered myself, but it was really never a big issue because all the clients that I worked with, for the most part, were fairly well known online and were really concerned about their own reputations. And so really, no matter what happened, they were not going to screw somebody over because they didn't want word about something like that getting out. So, and that doesn't mean you always have to work with just really well-known clients, but you know, the higher quality, quote unquote, the client, the less you have to worry about this. The other thing along that same line is, I have a YouTube channel. I have a mailing list of 20,000 people, 50,000 subscribers, blah, 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 blah. So most of the clients I work with really didn't want to tangle with me in that sense because in some cases I had a bigger online presence than them, or I had at least a big enough online presence that they really didn't want to take the risk of me saying something negative about them. So the more you can build your own profile, that also feeds into it, which is why I always tell you guys that not only there's all sorts of benefits to putting out content and becoming sort of becoming well known in your niche as a content producer. There's tons of benefits, and that's just one of them. So all of that is sort of the first thing. The second thing is then just your payment terms. Most of this has to do with you just making sure that you get paid, and if you set your payment terms up properly, that's not really an issue. And so I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you my payment terms and so forth, but those are really the two things outside of the contract that make it so, like I said, I didn't really worry about this too much. But with that said, let me show you what I use. So I use this thing called Contract Killer. You may have seen this before, but this is essentially an open source contract built by, I guess, Stuff and Nonsense is the name of this site here or whatever. But it's really sort of meant for web design, web development projects. It's for developers. And what's nice about it is it's not a bunch of legalese that nobody understands. It actually is pretty plain English. You can see it starts off with a summary here. You sort of just want to go through and change all of the stuff in here in terms of your name, their name, the price, and so forth, etc. And then when it comes down here, what's really nice about this is it sort of lays out kind of when you ask about must-haves, it sort of lays those out for you. So it talks about the text content. So right here it says, unless agreed separately, we're not responsible for inputting text or images. So that's something that as a client reads that, if that wasn't clear, it's in your contract. You can reference back to that. And then if they want you to do that, if you want to do that, they can pay you extra, and then you put in the contract that you will, and you lay out terms and so forth. But it sort of walks you through text content, graphics, HTML, CSS, browser testing, on down the line through all of the different things that you would want to make sure and include in a contract. And the way it is written in here, you really don't have to rewrite a ton of it. It's written pretty well to where you can just sort of drop in your own details, your own information, and be good to go. And so it's got the signatures and all that. So all you really need to do is read through this once and then adjust it to your particular situation, and you should be good to go. And that's exactly what I did. So and then there's a few things that I added that I'll show you. So if we come over here, you can see this will all look familiar, getting down to the nitty-gritty, design, text content, photographs. This is an actual contract. I'm not showing the name of the person, but this is an actual contract that a client of mine signed. So this is a real contract. So text content, photographs, all that stuff looks just like it did in the contract killer. But then when we get down here, I added a scope section. So I put, here's a detailed list of the exact services. And so I just sort of go through exactly what I'm going to do. Now, again, this is one of the reasons why being a specialist, working through, working on the same projects over and over with clients is helpful, because this is the same thing every time in that situation. So I built membership sites, and this was pretty much the same thing I did every time. You don't have to do this exactly like I did here, obviously, but laying out the exact scope to deal with scope creep, that was always a big thing for me. And then the other thing I added is this payments section. So the way that I did it is first off, there was a 10% non-refundable down payment. So if the project was a $5,000 project, they had to give me $500 before I would even start working on anything, and that was non-refundable. And that's an important point there, because making it non-refundable is how you weed out who's serious and who's not. Someone who's not serious is not going to just give you $500 or $200 or whatever it is. So having a non-refundable down payment is important. That'll pretty much eliminate anybody who's trying to jerk you around. And I literally didn't work on anything. I would email and maybe jump on one call if they really wanted to. And that was it. I wouldn't do anything other than that until I had that non-refundable down payment. The next sort of chunk is the 60%. So it was an initial completion payment. So after they gave me the non-refundable down payment, I would start working on the project, but I would do it on my own server. So I had my own development environment that I used, and it was on the web. It was on a host, but it was a specific URL, and I would when they wanted to look at the site or log in or whatever, they would do it there, but it was all on my property. And this is a really important point, because once you transfer it to their property, their servers are their property, you are breaking the law if you remove it from their servers. It would be as if you went into someone's store and took something out of their store. So once you put it on their servers, you really have lost sort of all power in the situation. So it's critical that you build it on your servers first. And if they insist on building it on their servers, be very leery. And there's probably only very rare situations where it made complete sense to me why they wanted it on their servers that I would even consider doing that. And then even then, I would probably change up my payment schedule here to have smaller payments along the way, so that I wasn't taking a big risk of doing all this work and then getting screwed over. So again, I did all of the work on my own servers, and then when it was time and they could look at everything, the site would be entirely built, and they'd look at it and go, okay, it's good. And they agreed that it was good. And now we just need to transfer it to their servers. Before I did that, they made that 60% initial payment. Now, at that point, they could just screw me over on the last 30%. But at the very least, at least I wasn't getting nothing. I was getting 70% of the payment, and I figured if I got screwed out of 30%, that was better than getting screwed out of everything. So that was how I kind of covered myself. And then the final 30 payment was when I transferred to their servers. Of course, I was working with WordPress and building membership sites, so I would have to sort of redo some of the setup and so forth. I'd have to upload the database and the files and all that sort of stuff and sort of reset things up a little bit. But once I had that all done and they went through it and everything was good to go, then that's when and they sort of signed off on it. That's when the final 30% payment was done. Now, I will say, in all the time that I did this and I used this payment schedule and so forth, I never had a single client not give me that final 30%. So it seemed to work pretty well. And again, if you're picking the right clients and you develop a presence of your own, people really don't want the word getting out about them screwing somebody over. So that was the payment terms. And then the final thing that I did is our Is It Broke guarantee. So this is maybe a little bit different than some people do, because some people want to get into long-term maintenance contracts. I absolutely abhor bug fixing and long-term maintenance. I wanted to focus solely on building new stuff for people. So I didn't even offer long-term maintenance. And so what I did is I offered a is it broke guarantee. So you can see it says here, we guarantee our work for 30 days, during which time we will identify and fix any bugs that may occur. Our guarantee only covers items we are contracted to build that break for whatever reason. It doesn't cover new features, wholesale site changes, or anything a reasonable person would not consider a bug, and etc. So basically, after I installed it, if something went wrong with it within 30 days, I would fix it, but I wasn't going to add new features. I wasn't going to change a bunch of stuff. I kept the scope in check. So that was the guarantee. So those are the things I added: the scope, the payments, and then the guarantee. And like I said, I never had a single client that when I did this, I never had a single client that flaked on me or didn't pay or anything like that. And I really never had any issues. So that's pretty much it. That's how I did my contract. So hopefully that gives you some insight into some stuff that you can do. Now, of course, if you want to get to the point of getting clients, right, and having clients come in so you can pick and choose and have those high quality clients, then learning how to freelance is an entirely different skill from the tech skills that you're learning. And that's one of the things that I learned the hard way when I first put myself out there to start freelancing over on Upwork. I learned that it is a set of skills that you have to learn, and no matter how good your tech skills are, they're not going to override the fact that you have to be good at getting work. And the better you get at marketing yourself and putting yourself out there, the more clients you have requesting quotes and wanting you to work on their projects, the more you can pick and choose the higher quality clients you're going to work with. And not only are you going to get paid more doing that, but you're also going to have to worry less and less about this kind of stuff of clients flaking on you or not paying or whatever. So the ability to bring in and get clients just sort of beating down your door to want to hire you makes everything with freelancing a heck of a lot easier. Plus the security from month to month, because you have so many quote requests on a monthly basis and all that. So anyway, if you want to learn those skills, that's what I teach you on my Freelancing on Upwork course over on Skillshare. You can learn more about that course at upwork101.com. Check out the reviews there and so forth. And then you'll see a big yellow button over there that says start the 2-month free trial over on Skillshare. When you do that, you'll get complete 100% access to the course, all the documents, all the videos, everything that goes along with it. You get full access to that course, plus all my others during that 2-month period. You could take the entire course and then simply cancel before the 2 months is up, and you'll never pay a penny. So if you want to learn what I know about freelancing and everything I did to get clients and so forth, that's the way to do it. Again, the link is upwork101.com. All right, guys, that'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.